Imagine your body as a perfectly tuned orchestra. Every hormone plays its part in harmony, creating the rhythm of your metabolism steady, balanced, alive. Now picture something crashing into that concert hall. Not a mistake, but chaos. A gang of intruders storms the stage, knocking over instruments, silencing the music, turning order into noise. That's what inflammation does inside your body. It disrupts the delicate system that keeps your energy flowing. And when this disruption hits your fat tissue, it sets the stage for something far more dangerous than you think. This is where metabolic problems begin. This is where your body slowly starts losing control, and most people don't even realize it's happening. What you're about to discover could change the way you see your
The
metabolism and your health
bloodstream
forever.
acts as the
Now,
body's
to understand what goes
superhighway,
wrong, you
transporting
first need to
vital energy
understand one key
particles to
player
the
in this
cells.
system: insulin. Insulin is a hormone made by your pancreas, a small organ that sits on the left side of your abdomen, and despite its size, it has one of the most important jobs in your entire metabolism. Think of the food you eat as fuel. Every meal you consume gets broken down into glucose, your body's primary source of energy. That glucose enters your bloodstream, like fuel being loaded onto a delivery route. But here's the problem: your cells can't use that fuel on their own. They need help. That's where insulin comes in. Insulin acts like a key. It unlocks your cells and allows that fuel glucose to move from your bloodstream into your muscles, your liver, and even your fat stores. This process gives your body the energy it needs to function, think, move, and survive. When insulin is working properly, everything flows smoothly. Your blood sugar stays balanced, your cells stay energized, your metabolism stays in rhythm. But this system is fragile because the moment your body stops responding to insulin the way it should, that fuel begins to back up. And what happens next is where the real problem begins. So, what happens when your body stops responding to insulin the way it should? This is what we call insulin resistance. And it doesn't happen overnight, it builds quietly, step by step. Imagine insulin knocking on the door of your cells, trying to deliver fuel. But the cells don't open. They've become resistant. They're no longer listening. Your body notices this immediately. It thinks, maybe there's not enough insulin. So your pancreas produces more and more and more. But here's the problem: it's not a supply issue, it's a communication breakdown. Now you have high levels of insulin in your bloodstream, trying harder than ever, but still not getting the job done. And at the same time, glucose, the fuel your body needs, starts to pile up in your blood. It's like a traffic jam. Fuel is everywhere, but it can't get to where it's needed. So your blood sugar rises, your insulin levels rise, but inside your cells, there's still an energy shortage. And this is the dangerous paradox. You have too much fuel in your blood and not enough in your cells. This imbalance is not just a minor glitch. It's the beginning of a much larger breakdown, one that sets the stage for serious metabolic problems if nothing changes. And this is where things start to escalate. Insulin resistance doesn't just stay isolated, it becomes the foundation of something much bigger: metabolic syndrome. This is not a single disease, but a cluster of problems happening at the same time, quietly building beneath the surface. As insulin stops working effectively, your blood sugar remains elevated. Your body keeps pumping out more insulin in an attempt to compensate. Over time, this constant overload begins to affect other systems. Fat starts accumulating, especially around your abdomen, what we call visceral fat. Your blood pressure may begin to rise, cholesterol levels shift in the wrong direction, inflammation increases. Individually, each of these might seem manageable, but together, they create a dangerous pattern. This is metabolic syndrome, and if it continues unchecked, it leads to something even more serious: type 2 diabetes. At this stage, your body is no longer just struggling, it's overwhelmed. The pancreas, after working overtime for years, starts to lose its ability to keep up. Blood sugar levels climb even higher. Energy regulation breaks down. And the most alarming part? This process often happens silently. No pain, no clear warning signs, just gradual damage over time. What begins as a small disruption in insulin signaling can turn into a full-scale metabolic crisis, one that affects millions of people, often without them even knowing it. So what actually causes this breakdown to begin? One of the biggest and most overlooked drivers of insulin resistance is something incredibly common in modern life: a sedentary lifestyle. In simple terms, it means sitting a lot. Now, This isn't about laziness. In fact, many people who sit all day are working harder than ever on laptops, in meetings, on their phones, but your body doesn't interpret effort the way your mind does. To your metabolism, sitting still for hours sends a very clear signal: energy demand is low. And when energy demand is low, your cells become less responsive to insulin. Think about your muscles. They are one of the largest consumers of glucose in your body. But when you're not moving, your muscles aren't asking for fuel. So even when insulin is present, there's less need to pull glucose out of the bloodstream. Over time, this lack of movement trains your body into a state of resistance. Your cells stop responding efficiently, your blood sugar begins to creep upward, and your pancreas starts working harder to compensate. This is why even people who look healthy on the outside can still develop insulin resistance. Because it's not just about how you look, it's about how often your body is being activated. Movement isn't optional, it's a signal your metabolism depends on. But movement is only part of the story. There's another powerful system inside your body that most people never think about, yet it plays a massive role in insulin resistance. It's called your gut microbiome. Inside your digestive system live trillions of bacteria, around 39 trillion, in fact. Most of them are concentrated in your large intestine, especially in an area called the cecum. And while that might sound strange, these bacteria are not your enemies. In many ways, they are your partners. Think of them like a hidden community working for you behind the scenes. Or even better, think of them like a pet. If you have a pet at home, you feed it every day. And when you take care of it, it gives something back: loyalty, companionship, affection. Your gut bacteria work the same way. When you feed them the right foods, especially dietary fiber from whole plant-based foods, they thrive. And when they thrive, they produce substances that directly support your health. But here's the catch: if you don't feed them properly, they weaken. And when that happens, one of your body's most important defense systems against inflammation and insulin resistance begins to break down. This invisible ecosystem inside you may be one of the most powerful factors shaping your metabolism, and most people don't even realize it exists. So, what exactly happens when you feed your gut the right way? When you eat foods rich in dietary fiber, whole, plant-based foods that your body can't fully digest, something remarkable takes place. That fiber travels down into your colon, where your gut bacteria are waiting. And this is where the real magic happens. Your gut bacteria begin to break down that fiber and, in return, they produce powerful compounds called short-chain fatty acids, SCFAs. There are three main ones: acetate, butyrate, and propionate. You don't need to memorize the names, but you do need to understand what they do. These compounds act like internal messengers. They help lower inflammation throughout your body. They improve your cholesterol levels, and most importantly, they make your cells more responsive to insulin. In other words, they directly fight insulin resistance. But that's not all. These same compounds can even communicate with your brain, influencing mood, appetite, and decision-making. When your gut is healthy, your brain functions better, and that makes it easier to choose healthier behaviors. So it becomes a powerful cycle. You feed your gut bacteria with fiber. They reward you with compounds that protect your metabolism, reduce inflammation, and restore insulin sensitivity. It's not complicated, but it is incredibly powerful. And it all starts with what you choose to eat. So what does this actually look like in real life? What should you be eating to feed your gut, support your metabolism, and push your body back toward insulin sensitivity? The good news is it's not complicated, and it doesn't require exotic or expensive foods. Start with lentils. They're one of the richest sources of fiber you can find, and they're incredibly versatile. Add them to soups, stews, or simple bowls. Oatmeal is another powerful option, a simple breakfast that feeds your gut bacteria and keeps your blood sugar steady for hours. Beans, whether black beans, kidney beans, or chickpeas, are excellent for both fiber and long-lasting energy. Cook a large batch, and you've got meals ready for days. Avocado is another standout. Creamy, satisfying, and packed with fiber, it's easy to add to toast, salads, or just eat on its own. Then there are vegetables like broccoli and Brussels sprouts loaded with nutrients and gut-friendly fiber. For something lighter, raspberries offer a surprising amount of fiber in a small serving. Even popcorn, when it's minimally processed, can be a good source. And don't forget whole grains like barley. The key is simplicity and consistency. You don't need perfection. You just need to start replacing low fiber processed foods with real, whole options that your body and your gut actually recognize. But there's another side to this story, and it may be the most damaging of all. Ultra processed foods. These are not foods in their natural form. They've been taken apart, refined, reassembled, and engineered inside factories into something your body barely recognizes. What starts as real food gets stripped down and rebuilt with additives, preservatives, artificial flavors, colors, and sweeteners. And while they may look appealing, bright, flavorful, convenient, they come at a cost. Because these substances don't just affect your taste buds, they directly impact your gut microbiome. Remember those trillions of bacteria working for you? Ultra-processed foods disrupt them. They reduce the diversity of healthy bacteria. They weaken the ones that produce beneficial compounds like short-chain fatty acids. And as your gut ecosystem becomes unbalanced, inflammation begins to rise. At the same time, these foods are often low in fiber and high in rapidly absorbed sugars and unhealthy fats, creating the perfect environment for insulin resistance to develop. They also promote the buildup of visceral fat, the dangerous fat stored deep in your abdomen that interferes with your metabolic system. So while these foods are designed for convenience, your body pays the price. Because the more you rely on ultra-processed foods, the more you move away from the conditions your metabolism needs to stay balanced and healthy. But how do we know this isn't just theory? This is where the science becomes impossible to ignore. Researchers around the world have been studying the impact of ultra-processed foods on metabolic health, and the results are striking. In one large study conducted in Canada, people who consumed high levels of ultra-processed foods had a 37% higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes. That's not a small difference. That's a major shift in risk. Another study from the United Kingdom found something even more concerning. For every 10% increase in ultra-processed food intake, the risk of developing type 2 diabetes increased by 12%. Think about that for a moment. Just a small increase in junk food consumption leads to a measurable increase in disease risk. And then there's research from Spain, which showed that individuals with the highest intake of ultra-processed foods had up to a 53% higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes compared to those who consumed very little. This isn't coincidence, it's a pattern. Across different countries, different populations, and different research teams, the same conclusion keeps appearing. The more ultra-processed food you eat, the higher your risk of insulin resistance and metabolic disease. This is no longer just a lifestyle choice. It's a scientifically proven pathway toward metabolic breakdown. Now, to really understand what's happening inside your body, we need to talk about fat. But not all fat is the same. Your body contains two major types, white fat and brown fat. White fat is the kind most people are familiar with. It sits under your skin, shapes your body, cushions your organs, and helps store energy for later use. In normal amounts, it's not the enemy. In fact, it plays important roles in hormone regulation, including the release of adiponectin, a hormone that helps your body stay sensitive to insulin. But here's where the problem begins. When you have too much white fat, especially the kind that builds up deep in your abdomen, known as visceral fat, it doesn't just sit there quietly. It becomes active. It becomes inflamed. And that inflammation interferes with the very hormones that keep your metabolism balanced. Adiponectin levels drop, insulin signaling becomes weaker, and your body starts to lose its ability to manage blood sugar effectively. This is why an expanding waistline is more than just a cosmetic issue. It's a warning sign. Because excess visceral fat is one of the strongest drivers of insulin resistance. So the goal isn't to eliminate fat entirely. It's to understand how much is too much and what happens when that balance is lost. Now here's where things take a surprising turn. Not all fat works against you. In fact, your body has a special type of fat that can actually help burn the dangerous kind. It's called brown fat. Unlike white fat, which stores energy, brown fat does the opposite. It burns energy to produce heat, a process known as thermogenesis. And it's not soft or jiggly like white fat. Brown fat is more compact, more active, and located deeper in your body around your neck, along your upper back, between your shoulder blades, and near your chest. Think of it like a built-in heater, or even better, like the flame on a gas stove. When brown fat turns on, it needs fuel to keep burning. And where does that fuel come from? It pulls it directly from your stored fat, especially the excess white fat that contributes to insulin resistance. So when brown fat is activated, It literally helps burn down the fat that's causing metabolic problems. This changes the entire perspective. Your body isn't just storing fat, it has a system designed to burn it. The problem is, in modern life, that system is often underused. But once you understand how brown fat works, you begin to realize something powerful. You're not stuck with excess fat. Your body already has the tools to fight back. So the question becomes, how do you actually turn this system on? How do you activate brown fat and unlock its fat burning potential? One of the most powerful triggers is something surprisingly simple: cold. When your body is exposed to lower temperatures, it has to work harder to maintain its core heat. And that's when brown fat steps in. It activates, burns energy, and generates warmth, pulling fuel directly from your fat stores. This is why practices like cold showers or cold exposure have gained so much attention. They're not just trends, they're tapping into a biological mechanism your body has always had. But cold isn't the only way. Your gut microbiome, the same system we talked about earlier, also plays a role. When your gut bacteria are healthy and well fed with fiber, they produce compounds that can help stimulate brown fat activity. So again, everything connects. What you eat influences your gut. Your gut influences your metabolism, and your metabolism determines how effectively your body burns fat. There are also certain foods and natural compounds that may support this process, though the foundation always comes back to overall lifestyle. Here's the key idea. You don't need extreme measures. You need consistent signals. A little cold exposure, regular movement, fiber-rich foods that nourish your gut. These are the inputs that tell your body to switch on its internal fat-burning system. Because once brown fat is activated, your body shifts from storing energy to using it. And that shift is where real metabolic change begins. Now, there's another powerful way to shift your body into fat-burning mode, and it doesn't require any special equipment, supplements, or complicated routines. It simply requires time. Specifically, time without eating. This is where intermittent fasting comes in. Every time you eat, your body shifts into storage mode. Insulin rises, and your metabolism focuses on storing incoming fuel, glucose, and fat for later use. But when you stop eating, something important happens. Your body switches gears. Without a constant supply of incoming fuel, insulin levels begin to drop. And as insulin drops, your body is finally able to access stored energy, especially fat. Now, here's the part most people don't realize. You already fast every single day. When you sleep, you're not eating. And during that time, your body naturally shifts into fat-burning mode. While you're resting, your metabolism is working behind the scenes, drawing on stored fat to keep your body running. In other words, you are burning fat while you sleep. This is not a trick. It's how your metabolism is designed to function. The problem is, most people interrupt this process. Late night snacks, early breakfasts, constant grazing. These habits shorten the window where your body can actually burn fat. But when you understand this cycle, you realize something powerful. You don't need to force fat burning. You just need to give your body the time to do what it already knows how to do. So, how do you actually extend this fat burning window in a practical, realistic way? It starts with a simple shift in your daily routine, one that most people overlook. Let's begin with the evening. After dinner, once you've finished your last meal of the day, that's your signal. No more food, no late night snacks, no mindless eating in front of a screen. From that moment on, your body begins transitioning into a fasting state. Now imagine this. If you finish dinner at 8 p.m. and go to bed at 11 p.m., that's already 3 extra hours where your body isn't receiving new fuel. During that time, insulin begins to drop, and your metabolism starts preparing to burn stored energy. Then you sleep. 7 to 8 hours, where your body continues that process, burning fat, stabilizing blood sugar, resetting your system. But here's where you can take it even further. When you wake up, instead of immediately eating breakfast, give your body a little more time. Get up, move around, go for a short walk, stretch, get some fresh air. By delaying your first meal, you extend that fasting window even more. Now you've created a 1-2 hour period or longer where your body is in fat burning mode. Half of your day spent using stored energy instead of constantly storing more. And the beauty of this approach? It doesn't require extreme dieting. It simply aligns with how your body was designed to function. Small timing changes can create powerful metabolic results.